Hi there, welcome to the RevOps show. If you've been a longtime listener, you may have heard Doug and Jess before on episodes talking about launching your CRM 3 to 4 times a year, or this term of always be launching. And if you haven't heard them talk about this before, well, you're going to learn a lot about it today. We realize we have only ever mentioned this concept and haven't ever dived into what it truly means to always be launching your CRM. So today we're doing just that. You'll get a full picture of what it means and how you can always be launching your CRM right here on the RevOps show.
Jess,
Doug,
what is going on?
we're world champions.
All right.
We're world champions.
Holy cow! I don't have it queued up. Do you want to sing it? Do you want to sing it?
We are the champions, my friend.
Do you know any of the words?
Yes, I know the word. I know the words.
Other than "We are the champions," my friend.
I know all the words. I'm not gonna sing the whole song, but I know.
How does it start? Just say it. Just speak it like a poem. How's it start?
We paid our dues.
I
paid my dues. I paid my dues. Time
Right,
after
next.
time.
Mm-hmm. Next.
It's hard when you're not singing it. I did my sentence, but committed
I've done my sentence.
I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes. I've made a few. I'm not going any further.
I've had my shares of kicks in my face,
Nice.
and I come through.
Yes. There we go.
Going one and one.
Oh yeah.
Who told you they were going to win?
You did.
Who told you not to worry? It was done.
You did.
Who did you accuse of offending the baseball gods?
I accused you of offending the baseball god.
And how could you do that? How could you ever accuse me of offending the baseball?
I will. You know what? I won't accuse you anymore.
Because if there's one person on the planet, they will always make sure that they do not offend the baseball gods. Who would that be?
That would be you. It's accurate. The first 5 innings of Game 5 were perhaps the most stressful of my life.
Yeah, but see that again. I gotta say, this is why fans kill me.
Just all fans in general of anything.
All fans. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I wrote a blog post about it. I think I actually wrote a blog post about this. Like, so that game for you should have been stress free.
Why? Because they were up 3-1.
Yeah, there was really no consequence for that. There's even a philosophy. I don't agree with it. I agree with Bochy's approach, and I think most people would do this, which is, in the tournament. And you got to realize there's the baseball season and there's the tournament. They're two distinctly different things.
Yep.
In the tournament, you play to win every game. But like there is a school of thought that says Evaldi shouldn't have pitched.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And by the way, for all of the we play to win every game, had that been Game 7, oh my God, I'm going Straubs or Sabors would not have finished the game.
Oh, absolutely not. No. I was shocked to see him come out in the 9th. I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna go there.
Not shocked at all. Wasn't shocked at all. What happened?
Well,
what happened between the 8th and the 9th inning?
Well, between the 8th and the 9th inning.
What happened during the 8th inning? So from the 7th.
Oh, we scored.
By the way, do you know why
we scored 4 runs and they scored 0?
Do you know why the 6th inning is afraid of the 7th inning?
Oh, I know this because my kids have joke books because 7, 8, 9.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why is number 6 here afraid of the number 7 here? Because 7, 8, 9.
That's my 7-year-old's favorite joke right now. By the way, just telling everybody.
So I will. Oh, so you know what Drew's favorite joke was when he was a kid?
What?
If I put my hand in my left pocket and I've got $1.32, and I put my hand in my right pocket and I've got $3.40, what do I have?
I don't know what.
Somebody else's pants.
Oh my God. I got to tell them that one. They're going to love that.
And Dylan's favorite joke
Uh-huh.
was, so I would say, I said to Dylan, why was the cat afraid of the tree? Because of its bark. But Dylan so she heard that joke. Everyone laughed. Everyone kind of laughed. And she then would go, why was the dog afraid of the tree? So why was the dog afraid of the tree?
I don't know. Why was the dog afraid
Meow,
of the tree?
meow. And she got a bigger laugh than the first.
Of course she did.
Even though it made absolutely no sense. So that stuck with it. And do you know what 0 said to 8?
What did 0 say to 8?
Nice spell. Alrighty, so back to
in
the 8th
why
inning,
you hate fans.
In the 8th inning, the Rangers scored 4 runs.
Yep.
Had they scored 2 runs, Spores wouldn't have been in the 9th inning.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because you need to get 3 outs. You need to get all of the.
Nope. You need to get 3 outs when you're up by 5.
Well, okay, why?
So 3 runs or less
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of an inning. It changes a bit, like bases are loaded or something, but 3 runs or less. If a team is ahead by more than 3 runs, it's not a safe situation.
Right.
So it's not uncommon to not bring in your closer when it's not a safe situation.
Mm.
Further, and by the way, closers are crazy. Closers are crazy, crazy people, just in general. And it's not unusual that a closer pitches differently in a safe situation versus a non-safe situation.
Right.
There's so much adrenaline, so much pressure, as much as focus on the process, et cetera. The other thing too that is different about 5 runs is you'll oftentimes hear the term we were slam ready, or I forget, that's not the term, but we're ahead by more than a slam.
Yeah.
We've got a slam covered, which means they could hit a grand slam and we're still in the lead.
And we're still winning. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for those reasons, and it being game 5 with a 3-1 advantage, because there is a big risk, and it makes me sad as a longtime baseball fan. There is a big risk in the 9th inning saying, okay, we're up by more than, we'll bring in. By the way, you saw this on in game 4, right? Because weren't they up like 11-2 going into the 8th inning?
Yeah.
See, that would have been far more stressful for me than the first 5 innings. So if Spores had come out and given up hits, given up runs,
right, they would have pulled him. Yeah.
Well, but the danger of that is that closers are used to, like in the day, like when I was a kid and I watched baseball, your closer, you brought your closer out when there was a runner in scoring position.
Yeah.
They came but today closers come out in the 9th inning.
They
come out with a clean inning.
Right.
And so closers actually don't pitch as well when they start in the middle of an inning. And again, the whole prep, there's a whole bunch to there, but
we won, Doug.
You did?
We won.
I was rooting for the Rangers, but it's not we. I'm not a we. I don't bandwagon, you know that?
Yep.
But I've always loved Bochy, except I've always loved Bochy. I've always loved Bochy and hated it.
Yeah, he's one of those.
Well,
I think everybody
do you know
knows
why I hated him?
What team did he? No, I'm sure it's because of a team that he managed, but I don't know which team it.
Fucking San Francisco goddamn Giants
There it
every other
is.
fucking year. So, first Nationals playoff game I'm at. What is it? I guess it's a Saturday. Dylan had a soccer game. It's October. It's cool. It's a super windy day. But we're like, okay, we're going to go to her soccer game, and then from her soccer game, we're going to go to the baseball game. And so, of course, we go to the soccer game. It's windy, but it's sunny, and it's in the 60s. So you're like, oh, that's fine. So we all go, light jackets at most, etc. We get to the game. Of course, it becomes night. It gets frigid. In the 9th inning, 2 strikes. I pick up my phone, Drew Storen pitching, Nats closer, 2 strikes, base hit. I think it was like a double or something. They were up like 2-1. I think it was 2-1. Okay, now there's one on second. 2 strikes again. By the way, you'll appreciate this because this is kind of like 2013 for you. Pick up, picture, single, tie game. tie it up. So I have 2 videos of what should be the last pitch for the first time the Nationals are going to advance in the playoffs. Tie game. The game goes 18 innings. I think it was 39 degrees by the time the game ended. Dylan was wearing shorts.
Oh my God.
It was not fun. That's
your
goddamn Bruce Bochy. My favorite is Dusty Baker. When his kid, he was coaching the Giants.
Okay.
And his son, Darren Baker, who's actually in AAA with the Nats. But Darren Baker was the bat boy. And as Jeff Kent was coming hard, rounding third into home, he ran out to pick Darren. I think it was like 6 years old, was out there to pick up the bat. And I think there was a player coming behind Kent. So Kent literally crossed home plate, picked up Darren to get him out of the way so he wasn't there for the play at the plate.
Oh my God.
Or it would have been devastating.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And you know what the sad thing for him is he's going to be in Major League Baseball. And every time he's somewhere for his first at bat there, that video, someone's going to play that video.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. You have to.
So, by the way, I still don't recognize any World Series as being official since 2019. I just want you to know that.
Why is that? Is that because that's when the Nationals won?
Yep.
And so why does that make everything after? I mean, I feel like anything after should be more official.
Anything after should be more. Well, how do you get more official than official?
I don't know. I don't understand your logic of why it's not official.
Because the Nationals were the last team to win the World Series.
Oh my God.
The Nationals got ripped off, by the way. They got ripped off. They got screwed. Do you know why?
Tell us all. No, tell us all.
What happened in 2020?
COVID.
Yeah. Right? It became a 60-game season. No All-Star game.
I remember this.
So the Nationals didn't get
I remember hearing about this from you. I remember this conversation.
They didn't get to have a season as the defending champions. Dave Martinez has never rightfully been the National League manager for the All-Star team.
But everybody was in the same boat. So I feel like the logic is not sound.
No. There was no All-Star game in 2020. So Bruce Bochy is the manager of the American League All-Star team for 2024. And
but what does that have to do with the Nationals, like, being robbed of, like, what does that got to do with anything?
Dave Martinez has not been able to serve his rightful position as the manager of the National League All-Star team.
Okay.
That's part of the reward.
I think we need to take this up with the commissioner.
You're gonna have so at the home opener in Texas or within the first couple of games, you're gonna have your ring ceremony.
Yep.
Texas Rangers fans will be able to be in the stadium.
Yep.
Will be able to cheer as their team is awarded their World Series rings.
Yep.
The Nationals did a thing on Zoom.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. That's fair. That sucks.
Did you watch any of the 2020 baseball season? It sucked.
I did.
It was not baseball.
I did. I mean, it was like the basketball season, which also sucked.
So anyways, the last official World Series. I do not recognize the authority.
So you're wrong, because the Rangers are currently
wrong.
The world champions, and you're wrong.
I can't be wrong, because what I'm saying is, Jess, you can't. That's what I feel.
Okay, well, what you feel is wrong.
You can't tell me that what I feel is wrong. That's what I feel.
I just told you what you feel is wrong.
Wow. Alrighty, what are we talking about today, Jess?
We're not. This is not a baseball podcast. For those that may be confused. Today I want to talk about always be launching. This is a concept that we've hit on in a couple of episodes, and I want to talk about specifically launching and relaunching your CRM and that concept of always be launching. So for those who haven't heard us talk about it in other episodes, let's start with, what does it mean to always be launching? Can you kind of define that concept for us?
So if you think about, so you go out and you get a new CRM,
You're the CRM
right?
dealership and get a new CRM.
You go to the CRM dealership and you get a new CRM. This CRM is gas powered. This CRM is EV. You're going to go through a whole process to implement. You're gonna go through a discovery process. You're going to go through a business mapping process. You're going to identify where the gaps are. You're going to build and configure. You're going to test. You're going to go live. We call that launch, right? And as part of the launch, you're going to train. You're going to make a big deal about it. You're going to, in essence, that launch is a training. It is also a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, and we've talked about it in a lot of episodes, obviously, but the problem is that the dominant approach views that as, okay, we're done.
Yep.
Right. So they view that as the finish line. And so what Always Be Launching says is there is no finish line, because the launch is the finish of that launch and the beginning of the next launch.
Yep.
So what happens when you don't do that is you launch and then you don't do anything for who knows how long, or you launch and you fix and add, 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 fix and add. And you're just always fixing and add.
Yep.
And so what happens there is you end up creating a lot of complexity, because when you're in that mode of fix and add, fix and add, fix and add, fix and add, there's no subtract.
Yep.
Or it becomes at least that much harder to subtract. The system over a period of time has goes through will have changed in a significant way, but there'll likely be very little documentation. There'll be very little rationale. There'll be very little reason. And that's why companies that implement almost any technology over a period of time, the technology feels heavier and heavier and heavier. Because it is heavier.
Yep.
Right. And so what the next launch is, we launch and then we plan for the next, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more detail. I don't want to take away all the thunder. I want you to, people tell me I need to give you more time to comment.
So one thing on this, because you talked about the importance of it as far as configuration, is there a user impact? So you talked about the fact that, we're fix and add, fix and add, fix and add. We're not subtracting, having a rationale. That all strikes me as like configuration pieces to the CRM, but what's the impact on the user of this philosophy of always be launching? Or is there one?
Give me a little bit more context. Tell me a little bit more about what you're getting.
So a couple of things. So first of all, we talk about from a utilization and adoption standpoint, does this help breed better utilization of the system? This concept of always be launching, because you have that celebration, you have that excitement, people are paying attention to it. You also are likely getting engagement from your users, because there's probably more of a feedback loop associated with this plan of follow-up launches. Like, does this drive better adoption? Does this drive better engagement from your users than, say, if you launch and then you're just doing stuff?
Oh my God. Yes. 100% yes. And I would say it drives better adoption. It drives better utilization. It drives better alignment. It drives better value. It drives better efficiency. It drives better confidence. What's fascinating about it is it enables a greater rate of change with less feeling of change.
What? Why do you say that?
So if you go back to our episode where we talked about change management,
Mm-hmm.
The change feels like change. Change is hard. Change is distressful when the change lacks context. Right? The whole thing that people hate to change is in many ways a myth. I was going to try to come up with a much harsher word than that, but nothing quite fit. Because, I mean, people are always changing something. We're scared of and attracted to novelty.
Mm-hmm.
But what change is hard when we're changing and we don't know why we're changing, or we don't want to change, or there's, again, it's a juice for the squeeze thing. And so when a system is always changing in small little ways, you feel like you feel like you lose stability. All right, so we buried the lead. Let's go back to first. Yes, we did. Let's go back to first principles.
Okay.
I'm getting hot here. Let's go back to first principles. The business process needs to drive the technology. The business process needs to drive the CRM.
Yep.
Right. And so when you're constantly changing the CRM, right, if you're constantly making fixes, additions, or if you do nothing,
yep,
then the business process is no longer driving the CRM. And so when you're ad hoc fixing, ad hoc adding, the technology is now leading.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the technology is getting out of sync with the business process.
Yeah.
Now, the intent is oftentimes to keep it in sync. Hey, wait, we need this. But we get into a whole system design element, which is, again, when you fix one thing, it changes everything. Or when you change one thing, it changes everything. And so there's no consolidation point.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so what a relaunch does is it consolidates.
Mm-hmm.
What a relaunch does is it refreshes. A relaunch, and as part of it being a disciplined process, is you're reinforcing what's working, you're adjusting what's not working. Your launches have hypotheses as part of them. You're able to experiment, and so subtraction becomes easier. It's never easy,
right?
But it becomes easier, and so your business process is always changing.
Mm-hmm.
Your business, and by the way, if it's not always changing, then may God have mercy on your business soul. Right? And so what are you doing to keep those two things in synchronicity?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I had a thought as you were talking about prioritization too. So I think one thing that frequently gets lost when we're in this mode of fix and add, and we're not really looking at this as multiple launches, is the importance of a backlog, which is something that we talk to our team about as far as, ongoing client management and those things. But for CRM implementation and CRM launches, like, a backlog is critically important, because one, it's that prioritization of, do I need to do this right now? Okay, if everything's important, nothing's important, we're going to put that on the backlog. It also, that growing list does breed that excitement for the team of what's coming down the pipe, and also allows, your CRM administrator, your RevOps team, to kind of manage what are the things we're doing, and keep focused to what is a part of this launch. So kind of packaging that way makes it a whole lot easier, rather than just like fixing a bunch of stuff and doing a bunch of stuff. It makes that prioritization easier.
So it does. I think it's beyond that, because it's again, it's about recalibrating.
Yep.
In addition to prioritization. So when you're creating that backlog, when you're creating that wish list, and whether you guys call it, whether listeners are calling it backlog, like one of the elements, if you try to implement 100% of what you want to do in a launch, you'll never launch.
Yeah.
So one of the really important things you need to do is for each launch level, you need to define what is complete. Different things come up. You ask the question, is this relevant to complete? Do we need to do this? Does this need to be done by this time, or is it in the future? And I like to look at that type of list, that type of backlog. I don't like to think priorities on that. Because if someone, if we put this on the later list and we say, okay, but that, put 2 stars by it because it's high priority, we're building in an assumption that's gonna, that's gonna blind us to reality. When we stop and say, okay, where are we? Where do we need to be? What have we learned? What's important? What's happening? What are they like?
Mm-hmm.
Now, very often, what you thought was a priority, it turns out to be a priority. But it,
Right.
the value is being able to take a fresh look at where are we. What do we need to do? It helps to prevent. I mean, one of the reasons that strategies, plans, technology implementations fail is because we're all subject to the sunk cost fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We do something because that's what we've been doing.
Right. Yep.
Right. And so, like in the first relaunch, it's probably not that big of a deal if you say, okay, well, this is a super high priority for the next iteration. But it's a really bad habit to get into because you just keep doing what you were doing. You never bring a fresh look to it. So you never bring that recalibration.
Yeah. So I wasn't actually inferring prioritizing the backlog. I was talking more about prioritizing what you have for that current launch and keeping focus on those items. Because I found, again, when you're kind of going in and you're not taking a launch always be launching philosophy, you just start doing everything, and there's a lot of recency bias involved frequently in what you're doing.
So there are 2 things here. If you don't take an always be launching philosophy, launches are really scary.
Yeah.
And in fairness, if you're not taking an always be launching philosophy, they should be scary, because if you don't do them now, it's very possible you won't do them.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's why implementations stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. But by the way, one of the things that I'm a big fan of is, I know it doesn't always look this way, but one of the things I'm a big fan of is the launch date.
Mm-hmm.
Within a tolerance,
mm-hmm.
the launch date should be the launch date.
Yeah.
And so as you're coming up to the launch date, as you begin to see, okay, we may not be able to hit complete by the launch date, what everybody wants to do is move the launch date. You're far better. You'll increase velocity, you'll increase business performance better and faster if instead you said, well, what can we do to reduce the definition of complete? Right? Now that's scary to do because you feel like you're giving something up. But the reality is you're not giving anything up.
Yep. No,
do you know why you're not giving anything up?
Because you're going to get it in a future launch. It's on the backlog.
No, that's not why you're giving anything up. That's actually not why.
Why?
So do you remember when you were a client?
I do.
And we talked about moving the website.
I do remember.
And
you remember talk about this story.
You remember that new website had been an initiative at the company for, I think it was like 4 years.
Yeah, it was
right.
ridiculously long. Yeah.
And remember what your boss, I'm not going to name names, he's a friend of ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is.
Remember, he pushed back because what we were going to do is we were going to move the website from, I think it was on WordPress, to HubSpot.
It was not on WordPress. This was a Dreamweaver site.
Okay, it was on, okay, but whatever.
Yeah.
So we were going to move it from where it was to HubSpot.
Yep.
And that's all we were going to do. We weren't going to change copy. We weren't going to change layout. We weren't going to change anything.
Yep.
And the pushback was, well, wait a second. Why are we going to move the website if we're not going to, it doesn't say the right thing. We need to change that. It's like, yes, you do. But right now you have a website that's not manageable. We're not able to, right.
Yep.
Got, a whole bunch of things. And so we're going to move the website because then we're going to be in a position to be able to do more, to manage things faster, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
We got him to understand. It felt like, well, wait a second. If I don't, he felt like we were asking him to give up fixing the copy.
Yep.
Right. And the point that got him to realize it was, I said, look, right now you have the wrong infrastructure and the wrong copy.
Right.
If we move it, you'll only have the wrong copy.
Right.
So you're not giving anything up. So when we say, so if this was our definition of complete, and by the way, you can think of somebody who we're working with right now where we're having this very issue, right?
Yep.
Some things came up, launch date pushed, right? Well, we can't, well, if we were to do this, like if we were to launch with this, then the reason that we're doing this wouldn't be met.
Right.
So to go live with that legitimately feels like you're giving something up.
Right.
Except right now, they don't have a CRM at all.
Yep.
Everyone's using individual things.
Yep.
Right. And so what you have to do is compare what your launch is to where you are, not to where you want it to be.
Yep.
And so if you can keep a consistent 90 to 120 day launch cycle, then you're always improving 3 to 4 times a month, 3 to 4 times a year. And what's more, you're always improving in 90 to 120 day intervals. So it's not like we made a whole bunch of progress in this month and then didn't do anything for 11 months and made a whole bunch of progress in, right? It's consistent. Yep. It's sustainable.
So is that the reason for 3 to 4 times a year? Is that the reason for the 90 to 120 days? Because of the consistency and sustainability? Is that why we recommend that?
That's why we recommend it. That's why we recommend a cycle. The reason that we say 3 to 4 times per year, which is size dependent, is as a general rule, if you go more than 90 days, it's too long. Too much has changed. Too much has changed. Right. Too much can go wrong.
Too much can go wrong because too much time has gone by, or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if something is off, and again, what I want to emphasize here is, and this is where people, even when they like the idea, still misinterpret it. They think the relaunch is about the CRM. But if you follow the prime directive, you know that the relaunch is not about the CRM.
Right.
Because the CRM is about the business process. Your business process is constantly changing. The reason that you have no clear business process is because you never recalibrate. You never update. And one of the reasons that happens is because if you ever started to do that, I like to call them iteration or acceleration cycles. I actually like acceleration cycles better. Because if I do this and then my acceleration cycle is 90 days from now, my first acceleration cycle is 90 days from now. So anyway, this is when we bring on new people, this is probably the hardest thing for people to learn. Because they go in, okay, it's the next cycle. It's time for recalibration.
Yep.
We need to change everything. Like they want to redo every assumption. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You start off with what your assumptions were here, and now all you have to do is say, like, what's really changed. And you know what? In that first iteration cycle, if you did a half decent job on your first launch, not that much has changed.
Right.
And then you go to the next acceleration cycle, and you know what? Not that much has changed. You go to the third acceleration cycle, and you go, not that much has changed. Now, and then you go, okay, you know what? We're busy. And so you skip the fourth acceleration cycle. And then there's not another acceleration cycle. And then, now, your first relaunch is primarily a lot of fixes. And to be clear, I am not saying that you don't do anything in your CRM. You don't change anything in your CRM for 90 days.
Right.
And in many ways, when you do this, the day-to-day doesn't necessarily change that much.
Yep.
But if so you've got to bring the relaunch into context with 3 zones of execution, right? Zone 3, transformation zone. Where are we going? What's the company we need to be? Zone 1, what do we need to do now? That's 90 days. Zone 2, the enablement zone. So you're always staging from where we are to the company we need to be.
Yep.
Right. So you're learning along those lines. You're updating your assumptions. You're triangulating. You're doing all those things. And so, like when you launch a brand new CRM, especially if you have not come off of an existing strong CRM, then there's a whole lot of fixes just because this is the first time you're going through things. Lots of assumptions are wrong. And so your first quote unquote relaunch actually has a lot to it. Right.
Yeah.
Because you fixed a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So it's actually, we're going through this right now with a large client where we're tranching rolling out groups because of the size of the users and just the complexity of their process. And it's funny. I just went through like, okay, guys, this is the path to launch. Here's some things we've added. Here's some adjustments we made. And the feedback I got was, oh, this is a lot of the same, but it sounds like we've tweaked and adjusted things from what we learned in the first launch. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We had these assumptions. We've decided to take this path instead of this path. And they're very similar, but we've made adjustments based on what we've learned. And it's so I would equate that to what you said of, we're doing a lot of fixes for kind of how we configured with the first launch.
So what happens in your first relaunch is a lot of fixes, a lot of cleaning things up. Your second relaunch has, for lack of a better word, a hangover effect to it. But the dangerous thing is you now begin to fall into a pattern of looking at relaunches as fixes.
Yeah.
If you are not raising the game, if you are not moving the ball forward, and if that doesn't make everything clear, I don't know what will. If you're not building, like, that next level of complete is a higher level of function. It's stronger. And the point of this again should be, what are the performance metrics that need to be increased? What are the capabilities that need to be developed or enhanced? Right. Then what ends up happening is you very quickly fall into a reactive game, or I should say a reactive posture. And when you're managing the CRM reactively, and there's a whole bunch of RevOps people who are listening to this show who are going, yeah, amen, brother. And I'm going to tell you, guess what? You are as guilty. You are more guilty than your peers, because, and again, what they're saying is, well, no, we're trying to advance this. I'm trying to work on the new model of, and what I'm going to say is, if that is not a part of a relaunch cycle, which is a holistic view of ongoing elements of, there's the map that you're following. It's the same thing as reactive, because you're trying to improve something out of sync with everything else that's happening. And the biggest danger of RevOps is the hype. So one of the primary dangers of a RevOps function, right, when you separate the process maker, if you will, or the process designer from the process doer, is you fall out of sync to reality. You run right back into the difference between theory, design, the ideal and the reality. Plus, by the way, by the time you've conceived something in RevOps to build it and implement it, the situation has changed. Right? Until you create a pause button for me, that's what's happening. Right? And so what happens is that we fall further and further out of sync. In essence, what I refer to as the plot is now lost. It's no longer a symbiotic connection. We're not in a tight closed loop. We're changing too much, too fast. And that's where we build resistance. Right? Because too often I'm told this is going to make your life better.
Well, won't it, Doug?
So by the way, here's the other thing that happens, right? We need to understand the impact of, well, here's another reason why people quote unquote resist change. Too much change at one time.
Yep.
Right? Because guess what? This isn't the only thing I'm dealing with. It's like,
I know
the change that you made to our forecasting program isn't the only thing that we're doing. Right? Because what else is changing? Well, my customer is changing.
Yep.
Their requests, their demands are changing. The market environment that we're in is changing. So like right now, we're in a major market haze. Like the life of somebody that's frontline and go to market. The chessboard has been thrown up in the air, right? So I'm, and so now we're going to make this change over here that's not taking this into account, right? And I was talking with somebody about this on a different topic. Too often we look to optimize before we've gotten to good enough. We look to optimize before we've improved.
Yeah.
Something new. And something new should always be launched.
Right.
By the way, when you do this right, you remember I call this CRM Christmas.
Yes, I remember.
It's like, hey, we've got some new presents, right? And that's
right.
Because the other thing that happens to adoption and utilization is we launch, hey, this is new, hey, this is great. And then you're going to see an adoption and utilization curve, right? We fall back into old behaviors. We need something that goes
reinforce.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
The reason that our managers are always moving forward is because it's new quarter. Got to replan, got to update.
Yep.
By the way, one of the nice things about going from Q1 to Q2 is when you're in a quarterly environment.
What?
Q2 starts off at 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, if you had a really good Q1, not so fun. But I was not a good golfer. The only thing that made me moderate was a mental statement that I began to teach myself. Is when I went from one hole to the next hole. So as I was putting down the ball for my tee shot, I reminded myself that this is a brand new hole.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm back at 0. And so if I had a shitty last hole, I get to have a new one here. And if I had a great hole, I've got a new one here. Right. So there's that's why we have New Year's resolutions. That change has a mental, it is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so that's another element of what a relaunch does. And again, if all you're doing is relaunch, okay, sales team, here's what we're doing differently in the CRM now. No, it's okay. Here's the strategy. Here's what we're doing. Here's the plays. Here's the context. Here's how we're doing this. Here's the problem. Now, I remember what I was saying before. So when you launch something new, and you should always be launching something new. If you're launching new and quality. So I was talking with our growth director today.
Yep.
And she's working on putting goals together for next year. And she wants to increase traffic and decrease bounce rate.
Okay.
And the reason she wants to decrease bounce rate is because she wants greater quality. She wants more quality. And I said, well, here's the difficulty, right? Now we've had decreased traffic for a bunch of different reasons.
Right.
Right. It's like, well, wait a second. So we want to drive more traffic. So that means we're going to have to do some things we haven't done before. We're going to have to experiment, right? So if you're telling me success is driving more traffic and quality, man, that's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be successful. You're not giving me permission to improve badly. Right. Yep. And here's how, this is what finally got it for us. I said, look, I'm working with you on hitting. Right. And I'm telling you, you need to be more aggressive at the plate. We need more hits from you. You need to be more aggressive at the plate.
Yep.
Which means I need you to swing it. I need you to swing more.
Yep.
And then you swing at a bad pitch. And as you walk back from the plate, coach says to you, What were you thinking swinging at that pitch? That was a horrible pitch. Right?
Yeah.
No. Awesome. Love the aggressiveness. Love the aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now, by the way, when you're young enough to remember when your kids were young. I mean, really young. Like,
yes.
When you still wanted them. Your
Precisely.
kids don't listen to the show. Your kids don't listen to the show.
No.
Okay, good.
No, neither is my husband, so we're good.
I bet you he understands that a little bit. You know, they wobbled. They would sit up wobbling. Like, look at that. That's awesome. Their first step. Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Did we yell at them when they fell? What were you doing falling there?
Exactly. Yeah. No.
Right? They began to try to run, and so they fell, and they skinned their knee, and they start crying, and we go, no, that was great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got to embrace that aspect of it, right? So if you don't have that now, by the way, there was a point where if our kids kept falling, then we might begin to talk to them about quality.
Right.
But what's fascinating to me about people is if the context is clear and the support is there, we learn so much on our own.
We do.
We're so self-correcting. And by the way, at the end of the day, all the correction has to be self-correction.
Yep.
Right? And so we need to enable that environment. And we do that with an always be launching philosophy, because we're never in a place where it's this. Because by the way, if we're not going to update this for a year, or we're not going to update this until I don't know, well, then you better be doing it right from the beginning. But here's the difficulty. You don't know what right is.
Yeah, you're right.
And so that's where this all becomes hard. And oh, by the way, I can promise you that if you bring the right data and profiling strategy, you're going to get pushback that you're asking for more than is needed. And if you're not getting pushback, then you're not asking for enough.
Okay. Interesting.
And further, if you are not learning that you're looking for data and insights that aren't needed, then you are missing some very, very important data and insights. Right?
Yep.
So you need to be wrong. The implementer, the designer needs to be wrong. Right? If I don't get told on occasion that I'm being too aggressive, I'm not being aggressive enough. Right? One of our people who's really showing signs of growth. Right? And I remember I had a conversation with her. I'm like, just so you know, like, some of the internal things we did were like, holy cow, who took over this person's body? This is great, amazing, awesome. And I had a conversation with them. And I said, look, I want you to know, there are a couple places you were at the line.
Yeah.
Now this was somebody whose problem was they were so far, like they didn't even get to the beginning line. They didn't even get to the start line, let alone.
I think you said that you didn't even know if they had like talked in the first 3 months that they were here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I said, look, now I fully expect that you're going to cross the line.
Yep.
Right. Because if you don't cross the line, how do you know where the line is?
Yep.
Right. And so like, those are all the things that go in. So then when I'm asking you to change, when I'm asking you, the rep, you, the user, to change because of this, I need to be able to say, look, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it.
Yep.
We're going to do this for 90 days. If we see that it's not really justifying anything, I promise you, it'll stop. You know, one of my favorite things to say to somebody who's resisting is, they say, this won't work. This won't work in my market. This won't work with my customers. And I go, awesome. That's great. Thank you for telling me that. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to prove that to me. I want you to do this 500 times so you can prove to me that I'm wrong. And so what's funny is we're nervous about change. But if we take away, so by saying, hey, you know what? We're going to change more, right? Like that's the fear that I think people have. We're going to change more. You actually take away the fear for change. right?
Yep.
Because you know why people are afraid of change?
Because it takes them out of their safety zone.
But I think there's something that goes beyond that.
What?
They're going to be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people are afraid of change. I think they're afraid of being stuck. They're afraid of being stuck at something that they can't do or they can't do well, that they don't like to do, et cetera.
Yep.
And so take away the fear of being stuck and you get a different behavior.
Yep. I have one more question for you before, because this actually came to my mind as I was putting everything together and thinking through this. Does this strategy of always be launching, does this avoid you from having to change your CRM as frequently?
Do you mean changing what CRM?
What CRM? Yes. What CRM you are using? Does this avoid you having to change your actual system that you're paying money to?
It does. And the reason I say that is I've worked with organizations that are using the wrong CRM.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time that they're using the wrong CRM, what's motivating them to change isn't actually what's wrong about their CRM. It's like all the things that they're talking about of why they're looking for a new CRM, we can't do this, and we can't do this, and we can't do this. 80, if not 100% of that can actually be done with their CRM.
Okay.
It's just not set up correctly.
They just haven't.
Yeah. So it's very rare that I see that the real issue is that the reason you're changing your CRM is because you're beyond the capability of your CRM. Now, if you do go beyond the capability of your CRM, what you're going to find is changing the CRM will become far, far less disruptive.
Yeah, because you'll have mapped the process out, been working on that the whole time, including updating your system.
By the way, the resistance to the CRM is far, far more resistance to the business process.
Yep.
Resistance to accountability. Resistance. You know what? As a salesperson that's not been in an environment of clarity and accountability, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what salespeople call the fact that the CRM, the company doesn't have all the information about their customer? They call it job security.
Right. Yep.
By the way, there's a whole big move that like I've seen. It's stupid, but someone needs to build a sales CRM because which enables the salesperson to use their CRM from company to company so that they keep their data.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I've built my relationships, I own my relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem that far too many companies have, and I want a salesperson to build their relationship. I want a customer Jess relationship, but I also want a customer Lyft relationship.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So yes, it would have a big impact on it. By the way, it would also probably reduce how much change you have to make to your CRM. So even within your CRM.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So a couple of takeaways, a lot around kind of how you manage the launch, but always be launching that enables the greater rate of change with less feeling of change. As far as management goes, defining what's complete and what is relevant to complete is key. You need to push for that higher level of function. You need to be wrong and be allowed to be wrong and put it in a time frame where you have enough time to make an impact, but not too much change, so you can test those assumptions. And then the last piece, which is a place where we frequently land, you need to make sure that that business process is a driver, not that the technology is leading, but that your business process is leading your launches and your decisions.
I'm going to say this. It's probably a little bit hyperbole, but if you take an always be launching approach, it's transformation without change.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
Jess,
yes, Doug.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you know why the Rangers won the World Series?
Because you said they would.
Nope, that's not why.
Why?
Because they said no to shitty RevOps.
Full circle. Till next time, everybody.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the RevOps Show. This concept of always be launching is a great reminder that the end of the project isn't the finish line, or that the end of the year isn't the finish line. There's always something else, and there's always going to be another 90 days to tackle, so do something great with it. If you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to go subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you happen to listen to us. We would really appreciate it if you left us a review and shared the episode. If you have any questions you would like to ask Doug or Jess about the concept of always be launching your CRM or what it means for you to be launching your CRM 3 to 4 times a year, feel free to email me at hannah@liftenablement.com or hit us up on formerly Twitter, now X @DemandCreator, or even on LinkedIn @Lift Enablement. And until next time, just say no to shitty RevOps.